Y'all seeing my mess. You are seeing my mess. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to. You know what? You're going to see what you're going to see. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the adjuster checkup. Let's get our opening music, shall we? Wait, where's my button? Where's the button? Okay, one day I'm going to record this thing to have like hipper opening music, but this is good for now. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Adjuster Checkup. I am your lovely host, Charlene Hoskins, founder and CEO of TPAS LLC. And if this is your first time joining us, TPAS is a property and casualty education firm that focuses on making the insurance claims process transparent and educating all parties involved in the insurance claims process with a special focus on the insurance claims adjuster. So here at TPAS TV for this adjuster checkup podcast, what we are doing is diving deeper. You've got the shows and everything about how to become an adjuster, how to get licensed. Okay, yeah. We take you beyond that, okay? Over and beyond. And we talk about insurance from different angles here. Get you thinking about something else and also for you to see the industry from a bigger picture mindset. All right. So, with that said, happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Today is June 19th, 2004. And in honor of Juneteenth, what we're going to talk about might be a very sensitive subject for some if you're not an ally of people that are melanated or black or brown. And for others, you're like, yep, makes sense. All right. We're going to talk about an event that you may not be familiar with. It's called the Zong Massacre. And specifically, what our topic is how that particular event taking place actually put insurance on the indirect front line of assisting with the abolition of the Atlantic slave trade. All right. This is a story that actually through all my licensing classes I have always told because of course me being a black owned insurance training firm, I of course have the majority of my students are melanated. They're black, they're brown, they're coming from different walks of life, right? And so when we talk about the particular subject of ocean and inland marine insurance, this is when I bring this story up. I think insurance is very, very important. And I think it is especially important for people of color to be involved in because, especially those who are descendants of those who were enslaved from West Africa, because it did have a play a part in helping us get our freedom. So, as we talk about on this symbolic Freedom Day, I think this would be a really good podcast to do. And it's our second to last one for the season. I know. Boo. I gotta take a break sometimes, you guys. You have no idea how much your girl got on her plate. So, anywho's, we're gonna go over it tonight. We only do this for 30 minutes, you all. So let's get to it. Thank you so much for joining. If you're looking at this on the replay, put your comments in the chat if you have any questions or just any insights. I'll be sure to read it later. All right. So what is the Zong Massacre? So, for you all who don't know, there was a ship once upon a time, a slave ship called the Zong. And this was back in the 1700s, late 1700s. So, I'll give you the exact date. So, the Zong actually departed from the coast of West Africa on September 6th, 1781. And at that time, it had 470 enslaved Africans on board. Now, they were set to land at Jamaica. Their captain was a man by the name of Luke Collingwood. And what happened, first and foremost, we all know this from our own history of what we've been told. Yes, that ship was overloaded. It was only, I think, supposed to hold let me get this right. I think it was only supposed to hold maybe about 300 enslaved people in its hull, and it had 470. So it was definitely overpacked. Um, so as a result of One, the ship being overcrowded, people being too close together. First of all, before we even had the so-called massacre situation happen, there were already people that died as a result of malnutrition and disease. Okay, so because it was overloaded, they left September 6th. By November 29th, many of them had already died because of the malnutrition and the disease. It had sailed in an area in the mid-Atlantic known at that time as the doldrums because of periods of little or no wind. And as the ship sat stranded in the doldrums, so it sat still for a while, it wasn't picking up any wind. There was a sickness that ran through the ship and caused the death of also 7 of the 17 crew members. So we're overloaded, we're understaffed, and also another 50 enslaved people. Okay, so it's looking bad. You see the numbers dwindling, right? So anyhow, as the captain is desperate to get this ship moving, he begins to what we call jettison some of the cargo. We know who the cargo was. The cargo was the enslaved people. And for those who don't understand marine terminology, jettison is when you throw something overboard. Okay, so he began to throw, jettison people overboard in order to supposedly save the ship, and of course provide the ship owners, the shipping company, the opportunity to claim the loss on their insurance. Oh, yes. For those who did not know, slave voyages were insured. We were no different at that time than being considered, just like as you look at these cows and pigs out here, we were no different than that. They were considered a commodity, they were considered cargo. And just like if you have in modern day times a 18 wheeler going down the highway, it gets into an accident, and as a result the trailer crashes and the contents of the trailer fall out, the cargo in the trailer falls out, there's going to be a claim made by the owners of said cargo, right, to recover the loss of that cargo as a result of that accident that now has to be reshipped, correct? Okay, same thing back in the 1700s. All right. All right, listen, I'm just the messenger. And so as a result, he knew, and as many of those captains and shipping company owners knew back then, yeah, they could just, when the ship goes back to England, they make a claim with their insurance company, they get paid out. And I'm not exactly sure about what that value would have been. I'm sure it depended on if that enslaved person was male or female, if that was a child, their age, if they were old or young, depended on what value that they had and that the insurance companies would pay. All right. So, yes, he started to throw people overboard. And over the next week, the remaining crew members threw an additional 132 enslaved people who they said were sick and dying over the sides of the ship. And then another 10 enslaved people threw themselves overboard. Go ahead and go to that quote from Black Panther on that one. Okay, he said he'd rather, okay, go ahead and have his grave in the ocean. All right. So as a result, when they got to Jamaica, which was their destination, they landed, and they only had, let me look at these numbers now. We lost we lost 50. That brought it down to 420. We lost another 132. Let me do the math. Hold on, because this article I'm looking at isn't doing the math for me. So let me do it. And I'm trying, and I don't have time to do it in my head. 470 minus 50 minus 132 minus another 10. So 278 is the total count. So they started with 470 enslaved people, and now they have 278. That's almost half of the cargo. All right. So when they landed in the zone, they landed in Jamaica. They sold whoever they were going to sell, and then they filed an insurance claim. Right when they got back to England, and the James Gregson, who was the ship's owner, argued that the zone did not have enough water to sustain both the crew and the human commodities. However, the insurance underwriter, shout out to somebody who was doing their job back then. Okay, the insurance underwriter, who was by the name of Thomas Gilbert, God bless your soul, Mr. Gilbert, he disputed that the claim He disputed the claim and cited that, when they landed at their destination back then, they would tell them, they would take inventory of what they had in food, in water, in provisions. And so when the inventory was taken, Thomas Gilbert went and found that inventory, verified how much water and provisions was really left, and ended up discovering that he disputed the claim because he discovered that the Zong had 420 gallons of water aboard when she was inventoried in Jamaica. So, despite this, there was a Jamaican court that was held. It was found in favor originally of the owners of the ship, of James Gregson's, on in his favor. So the insurance company appealed. All right, and they appealed the case the next year in 1783. And what happened was that process provoked a great deal of public interest and got the attention of a newly formed, just budding Great Britain abolitionist movement. All right. And so what happened, there was a leading abolitionist by the name of Granville Sharp. He used the death of the slaves to increase public awareness about the slave trade and further the anti-slavery cause. It was he who first used the word massacre. All right. So I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this. So basically, what had happened was everybody got wind of it, right? So just think of it like it went viral, like on social media, but instead of it being a viral social media moment, it was everybody, it hit the newspapers, everybody's going crazy. And this is also in this process because I've done a lot of research on this. There's a movie on this, there's a whole book on this. If you guys ever want to read it, I'll give you all I'll find let me grab my keyboard. I will find the gentleman who's the authority on this, who wrote the book on it years and years ago. Um, so basically, what happened is by Granville bringing all of this to the public attention, he started to point out again. Remember, the ship was overcrowded. He pointed out the how people were packed in there. That's where some of those first images of how enslaved people were packed in the hull of the ship. He brought that to people's attention. He brought it to the attention, of course, the shackling, the treatment that they received, the food that they received, the conditions that they were in for X amount of months while these ships went from West Africa over to Jamaica and South America and and North America, right? And so what happened was people were really just like, ugh, it's one thing to know something's going on, but like when you see it, it's something else. Like, for instance, when you see videos of a slaughterhouse, you like, you know what? I don't even want no meat no more. I'm good on that. And that's pretty much the effect that it had on the public. And so also at the same time, there was a young man, a young black man by the name of, he was also an ex enslaved person who had gotten his freedom. His name, you got all may be familiar with him. His name was, I hope I'm saying this right, Olada Iquanu. Okay, Iquano. Olada Iquano also worked with Granville Sharp to bring what was going on with the transatlantic slave trade to public awareness. And so, as a result, and this is why I say that it had a die. You're like, well, wait a minute, Charlene. Okay, I hear that, but how did that end up? How did insurance play a part? Well, one, because insurance fought that claim, it ended up being able to be brought to people's attention rather than them just paying it and going along. Had they just paid it and went along with it like they did all the other probably claims that had been filed at that time beforehand, yeah, nobody this uproar would not have happened. It would have not come out that 200, nearly 200 people were discarded carelessly as a result of really misfeasance on the part of the captain of this ship. And there's more details about it. Like, for instance, that particular Zone ship was one of the smaller of ships that were being used at the time. It had also just changed ownership from another shipping company to this Gregson guy. And so it was really crazy. They were really trying to get like a quick return. The motivation was totally different for them. They were trying to get a quick return because they had just bought this ship And of course, it when they bought it, it already had so many enslaved people already on it that they had picked up from like the northwestern area of Africa, and then they came down to around the Ghana, Nigeria area of Africa, and then picked up the rest. Okay, only to kill daggone near half of them. All right. So basically, what ended up happening when all of that uproar happened as a result of this event, this massacre, which is what it is, being brought to their attention, and then them lying and saying we threw everybody overboard because we ran out of water. And only to find out y'all had 420 gallons of water. I even read in one part of my research that they had even went back in the weather reports back in that time and verified that along their path it had rained, and that was another reason why they were like, "No, we're not going to pay for this." So even when they ended up appealing it, it went to court. It was a big, huge uproar, and as a result, actually the exact number of people that passed was 232, and they said that they were murdered, and they ended up losing. So the courts eventually, there was several appeal processes that took place. They went back and forth. Eventually, no payout was ever really made on this. And of course, Mr. Equano, who was a freedman, he brought the news of the massacre to the attention. Actually, I take it back. They're saying that Mr. Equano is actually who brought it to Granville Sharp, who was at that time an anti-slavery campaigner. So that was in 17. Let's see, when did it happen? So they left in 1781. They landed in Jamaica. It doesn't say when they landed in Jamaica, but 1782 it went to court. And here's the fast forward. The fast forward is when after going back and forth in court for years, what ended up happening is in the process of that, there was a society that was created that influenced all of this. It was the Society for Affecting the Abolition of the Slave Trade. It was founded in 1787, so just a few years later. And then Parliament passed in 1788 the Slave Trade Act, and it was the first law that regulated, now it didn't abolish it, it regulated the slave trade to limit the number of enslaved people per shift. So it started this domino effect, everyone. Then in 1791, Parliament prohibited insurance companies from reimbursing ship owners when enslaved Africans were murdered by being thrown overboard. All right. And of course, this massacre also inspired works of art and literature. It was remembered actually in 2007 in London, um, among events to mark the bicentenary of the British Slave Trade Act of 1807, which abolished British participation in the African slave trade. So if we look at from 1781, because they left in November, so they probably didn't get there until 1782. So let's say 1807 to 1782. 1782. That's 25 years. 25 years. So it was like your time is up. That was the beginning of the end when the Zong Massacre became apparent to everybody. All right. So that's how I believe, because of all of that. Yes, insurance, it wasn't a direct role, it was an indirect role. But when I discovered this years and years ago, I think I found out about this just randomly looking up stuff one day. When I found out about this, that was maybe about close to 10 years ago. I was just like, "Oh my god." One, it never clicked to me that those voyages would be insured, but it made perfect sense. I'm like, at that time, it's a business. Take out all the emotion, it's a business. And they had to protect their assets. They had to protect their merchandise, so to say, unfortunately. Um, and to know that, yeah, they were paying claims on our ancestral demises and their bodies. And not only that, it makes me think of how many, because that process existed, just like you have insurance fraud now, how many of those captains, so that they could have a faster turnaround of selling, have less people to sell when they land, have a faster turnaround to get back over, because it takes months, right? To get back over, to the other side of the world to pick up more people to bring them back over. How many that we don't even know of discarded people and threw them overboard just for a quick buck, for a lick, right? And so thankfully, unfortunately, at the sacrifice of our ancestors, but also thankfully, I thank you, ancestors, right now for your sacrifice. Because of that, we were seen, the cruelties that were being done begun to be seen. The light started to be shown on the situation, and insurance played a part in that. And so, for anybody who is a person of color who is in this industry, and again, it has been a white male dominated industry. That's no secret, right? And so now that we're starting to get hip to it and we're getting into it. Do your best, do your absolute best, because many people died and this industry paid for it, and they could very well be connected to your bloodline. You just never know, right? Because records and things like that on purpose were, discarded and lost. So people could not really track and really fully trace their lineage. Again, all of that is by design. And so the thing is be proud of who you are. Be proud that you are a person of color in this industry. Be proud and thank the ancestors for their sacrifice. There were some who voluntarily was like, listen, y'all gonna kill us anyway. I can't take this. I'm jumping off. Right. This is where I get off. This has already been painful enough. I don't even want to know what awaits me on the other side of this boat ride, right? On the other side of this voyage. So thank them, give homage, light a candle for them, burn some sage, thank them for that, and be grateful that things are not the way that they used to be. I'm really grateful for that. But I, to me, it just feels like I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in this industry. I'm going to do it right. And that also leads me to the many of our policyholders and insureds who are people of color, who are black and brown, who we already know. And I don't have to go into too much detail. Maybe we'll do that next season. We'll do an episode for that. But I can't even tell you how many claims that I have had to handle because the insured or the policy holder was a black or brown person and the adjuster was a Caucasian person, and they were being treated unfairly because they were well off, because they were affluent, because they had nice things and designer this and that, and that adjuster literally could not, because of their own biases, conscious and unconscious biases, took them through the ringer because they did not believe that the items that were being claimed or the damage or whatever was real, or they thought they tried to make it like they were frauding the system when it was just a simple claim, or they tried to act like, yeah, this isn't your stuff, is that bag really Gucci, I need to verify. I mean, just really just taking people through it. And the thing is like, duh, here's the certificate of authenticity. It's all in front of you. It's so obvious. And then what happens is the insurer's like, okay, there's some racist stuff going on right here. I need another adjuster. And I don't want them to be white. Period. Because I'm not being treated fairly. And in order for me to make sure that this claim is going to be handled properly, I need somebody who looks like me. And then, people like myself and like my mother had to come in and be the cleanup women. I can't tell you how many claims I had like that, tons of them. Or claims that I knew somebody else had that the insured did not have the wherewithal to ask for another adjuster. And they was like, you know what, that's it. I'm getting a public adjuster. Or I'm going to or I'm taking it to court. So, because of that, it's important for us to do our best to not only represent ourselves well, but to represent our policyholders well and our insureds well when we are doing this job. This is a huge job that we're doing. And I was just explaining to somebody, a manager at AAA, literally just yesterday. I was like, the adjuster's role, for me, in my opinion, is the most pivotal role in this industry. You can sell policies all day long. Nobody knows if what they purchase in that policy or that policy from that insurance company is going to be worth anything until there's a claim. It is the claims process and how transparent that is, how well that flows, how easy it is to work with their adjuster that is going to decide if they have a opinion of I made the right decision with this policy, I made the right decision with this insurance company. And if it turns out that it's such a tumultuous process that their opinion is negative, they're going to leave. They're going to find somebody else to represent them. And so we always have to keep our ears and our minds and our hearts open and set to the bigger picture. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's bigger than us. So you owe yourself, these policyholders, and your assessors to do this job and to do it right. All right? Represent yourselves well, you all. A lot of people had to die for you to be here. And insurance had a part in making sure that I could be right here giving this information to you right now, not with shackles and chains around my arms and wrists and neck and muffled or gagged or violated. All right. So giving homage to those who could not be here, who possibly bloodline ended in the Atlantic Ocean. Thank them, all right, for their sacrifice. And be proud that this is the industry that you decided to choose. All right. So with that said, we are almost done. Do anybody have any questions, comments, commentary, complaints? I'm here for it. Okay. Go ahead and mess around and find out. But no, do some research on the Zong Massacre. It's actually a really powerful story. And I think I'm going to light a candle tonight. I always talk about this story. I always thank my ancestors, but light another candle tonight for them, for the 232 lives lost in one voyage. And thankfully, that insurance company fought it. Boom. Oh, good for them. Good for them. Shout out to that adjuster, or that it was an underwriter. Shout out to that underwriter. What's his name? I don't know what else he did in his life, but maybe he did that one right. Okay. Listen. What was his name? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. It was okay. James Gregson was the owner. Thomas Gilbert. Shout out to you, Thomas Gilbert, and your lineage. Okay, I hope you did other good things in your life. But shout out. I know you was just doing your job. I know you weren't thinking about the people, but we love it. We love you for being on point. See the importance of proper claim handling. You just never know who you might say. All right. Okay. Shoot, make me want to be like, I know the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize, oh Lord. Keep your eyes on the prize, oh Lord. Come on, y'all. All right. Anyhow, I'm gone. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope that that story resonated with you. I am not the best of storytellers, so if you were able to hang in with me this whole time, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Um, Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share the video, and of course, hit the notification bells so that you know when we post a video or go live. All right. If you are in the insurance industry and you are an adjuster and you are looking to renew your license and have not yet finished your CEs, you know what's coming next, don't you? Oh, yes. Uh, Make sure to go to our partnership website at www.webce.com/TPAS. Set up a very free profile, then go to, I think it's the course catalog, and then you select not pre-licensing, but you can't do pre-licensing if you don't have a license. Continuing education, and select your state. Figure out either an individual class. I don't know how many CEs you may need. If there's an individual class, yes. Or if it is all your CEs you're missing, they do have pre-made packages. I think after tax, it's like 60, $70. But guess what? Our partnership with WebCE gives you a 10% discount. Can I get an applause for that? Where's my applause button? And okay, applause. All right. And if you are looking to attend any courses hosted by yours truly, TPAS, which your instructor will be most likely yours truly, please go to our website, select your course of choice. And guess what, you all? For the month of June and in honor of Juneteenth, we are having a flash sale. Yay. We are having a flash sale. And guess how much you're getting? Just guess. Not 10, not 20, but 40% off. Where's my button? Hey! Yay! So sign up and the code is flash 40. All caps flash 40, you all. Let's see it. Listen. All right. I'm trying to be here for the people. Okay. So tune in, you guys, again. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope the message resonated with you. I hope that it inspired you. I hope that it encouraged you. And again, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. If you're catching this replay, hey, put your questions in the chat. And even if it's a comment, go ahead and do that as well. And I will see you all next week for the very last episode of this season, season 2 of the Adjuster Checkup. I will talk to you all later. You have a great night, a happy Wednesday. Be good to each other, be positive, and keep adjusting. Talk to you all later. Bye.